Are
Yes,
you
ma'am.
able to see that it is started recording? Okay, thank you. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. This is our 13th lecture of the course. And in the morning today, we have already seen the new loop construct, that is the for loop construct. And we have also seen continue, which allows us to modify the flow of the control in the between the statements of the for loop. And we have seen examples of that. So today we'll again in this part of the class we'll exercise on loops, and we'll see how we can do some more interesting things which are again modest, but will illustrate some new thing in today's class. Okay, so let's get started. So the main thing that we are going to do is loops, but in a different way today. So let's stare at these tasks. So these are the tasks that we are going to do in the class. Some of these tasks are extensions of things that we have done earlier. Some of them are exactly what we have done earlier, but possibly not with the C loop constructs. And so we are going to do them. We are going to also see what is the common thread between these three tasks that we have listed out in this class. So the printing patterns is something that we started off in the very first class, so it is not at all new. So this is the pattern that we want to print out, and we have done this using the repeat command that was available to us using the turtle train in the turtle trained computer, and we have written this program earlier. But what we will do today is now write a standard C program to print out these patterns. It is not a difficult program, but it's a very simple program, but it illustrates something slightly different than what we have done in the past few classes using loops. So this is the program that we will write. We can write to print out this. I have used the for loop only and avoided the other loop construct, but that's okay. So the for loop that we have seen in the morning has these three things, that is the initialization or statement one, expression, which is the test expression, and then there is the statement two, which is typically the loop counter, which is getting incremented. And this is the most standard use of the for loop. So the only new thing that I want to talk about this program, I think all of you can stare at this program. Is there any error or is there anything that is incorrect? Will this print out what is the pattern beside on the left hand side? Or is there an error? Error in the sense, of course, there is no syntax error. The program does compile well. Okay, so I assume that you don't spot any error. So the only thing that I want to illustrate is that there is this nesting of the loop which is required. Okay, so Darshan says that there is a new line. So what does it mean by new line? What do you want to point out as an error, Darshan?
Hello?
Hello, yeah, Darshan, we can't hear you. Okay, so I don't get to. So there is no new line, or I don't know that he's typing out /n, but note that we cannot give a /n here at this place. If you give a /n, then it will be an incorrect piece of code because it won't print out the pattern in this way. We have already seen this earlier. So the /n that has to be given after the columns of every row have been printed out, and that is something that we have already discussed. So the only thing that I want to bring out is that there is a nested loop here. There is a for which is inside this for loop, and this is the first time we are doing this. We have already done this, or you have done this when you have done this patterns. You have done repeat inside repeat, which is already a nested loop construct. Which is a very powerful thing to do, and only when you have nested loop constructs you can do much more powerful things than what you can do with a single loop construct. So what our goal in this class is to look at different tasks which require a nested loop construct, use different nestings of loops, while, for, and interchangeably, but more importantly also pay attention to what happens when there is a nested loop construct. Okay, so I'll just quickly look at the chat messages. Okay, so we can do this without a nested loop using two control variables. Okay, can you please tell how Emil is saying this? So what is your code that you have in mind?
We can use for itself. I guess we can do it like using if conditions and or inside that for loop using I and j as the control variable.
Okay, so
Like
you have two control variables I and j, but how do you print? Okay, so what do you do to print? Yeah, how does your code look like? Can you just explain?
I'll actually mail the code. I've actually like my one friend has did this. So
you are okay. I am unable to hear you clearly, Emil. But what you are saying is it is possible to do this without the nested loop. But yeah, I mean, is that the statement that you want to make?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so it can be possibly done, but the code will become a little more complicated, as well as you'll have to do control of two variables. This is the most natural code that you are going to write down for this pattern that you are asked to print. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and also observe that this pattern naturally has this form of a matrix, that is a two-dimensional thing, and that is leading to this nested for loop, which I mean nested loops, which is one which is going over the rows, the second which is going over the columns. So when one iteration of this first for loop is done, where I was equal to 1, when you go to I is equal to 2, then this for loop is running all over again. So for loop is starting with I is equal to 1. I mean, it is running all over again. So the initialization j is equal to 1 to j less than 8. I mean, j less than 8, j plus plus is going to run all over again. So j gets initialized to 1 each time it enters this for loop. And this is the way this is going to print out 8 stars in every row, which one star corresponds to the column of that row. So this is something that hopefully is clear. But if there are any questions on this basic part, please feel free to raise this. Are there any questions about what happens when the execution enters the second time or the some kth time into this for loop, the outer for loop, and what happens when it enters into the inner for loop?
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes.
I'm not a doubt in this. Like you said, like it is a natural code for that. Does that mean that it should have the least number of lines for doing it? Or like,
can you speak a little louder, Ashwini? Ashwina, right? Okay. Ashwin, sorry, Ashwin. Yeah.
there is a natural. You said like a natural code for like this is the matrix is a natural code for loop, like nested loop. What does natural mean? It means that there will be a less number of lines of code or something.
No, so okay, so let's come to that natural part. So it means, okay, so how do you think about this piece of, or when you are asked to, let's say you are not given this piece of code, how do you think about printing these lines? You think about you have to do something 4 times. I think this is the first class that we talked about. This we have to print 4 lines. In each line you have to do something. And in fact, in this case, in each line, you have to do the same thing. That is, you have to print 8 stars, right? So this is how you think about this problem, or at least most people think about it in this way. So at least I would think about it in this way, and the way most of you would think about. When we did this in the first class, somebody would have prompted Vidushi or the person who was going to draw it in this way, that write down 4 lines of, I mean, you have to do this 4 times, and each time each line you have to print out these asterisks. So this is what I'm calling the natural way of thinking, not about minimum number of code lines or code statements or something like that. Is that clear, Ashwin?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So when we think about things which are in a 2-dimensional array or a matrix, it is natural, or it comes to us that, okay, go over the rows first and then do everything for each column in each cell in that row or something like that. This is what brings out nested loops, right? So this is one example. So now we go to the second pattern which we had again drawn. So I would like each one of you to take this earlier piece of code and modify this such that we get this the second pattern that we want to print out. So you can take some time, do it on REPL or whatever, print your answers or whatever is the modification to this piece of code in the chat window. You don't have to do it on REPL if you are confident about your answers. Okay, so the only thing, yeah, just one second. The only thing that I would suggest is do not change the loop construct so that our code doesn't look very different. Let's use the for loop construct and a similar kind of template and keep doing this. Okay, yes, there was a question.
Ma'am, could you show the code again? I mean, the pattern again?
Sure. So the pattern is this, that you have on the first row there are 2 asterisks, on the second there are 4, then there are 6, and then there are 8.
Okay.
Yeah, is that clear? So I want to flash the original piece of code so that people can modify this piece of code. Okay, so I do not, so there is a question, how do you go to new line? Okay, so somebody else has answered in Cisco WebEx chat. Okay, shift enter. Yeah, okay. Okay, maybe you can, I mean, you can print out. So the change is going to be in the second for loop because you still have to run the first for loop like this. You can write down the second for loop condition. Printf is not required actually. I mean, yeah. Okay, so yeah, please do not type out those, I mean, enter messages. Yeah. Okay, so there are interesting answers in the chat. The answers are also modifying this printf that is there. So you are not printing only 1 star, but printing 2 stars. So I would forbid that from being done for the moment, just to keep the answers more uniform. It's not that it is an incorrect answer. If your goal is to print out that pattern, that is a correct answer. But I mean, that is a correct way. But it's fine. I mean, okay. So what I will do is I will show what I have written. This is of course not the only way. There are other ways which have correctly been written. So what I did is I have taken another variable k, which counts how many lines do I have to print in each of these, how many asterisks do I have to print. In the first I have to print 2, in the second I have to print 4, in the third I have to print 6, and the fourth I have to print 8. And I am running this inside for loop, which is going from 1 to k, and this k gets modified once this loop ends. So this k is getting modified and the k gets modified by +2. And that is why when you enter the loop again in the next iteration, you have 4 as the value of k. Therefore, you are going to print 4 asterisks, you are going to print 6 asterisks and so on. Now, many of you have observed that this k is not really independent of I. K is something which is exactly equal to 2i when you go into this loop. So this is also something which is a loop invariant. So this k is always going to be equal to 2i. Therefore, you can actually avoid using this new variable k that I have used here. You can actually print out, you can actually reuse the variable and say that for int j equal to 1 to j less than or equal to 2i j plus plus, then print this asterisk, and then you get rid of this k is equal to k plus 2, because that is something which is redundant. K in fact is not at all required throughout the code. So I hope you see that you can print out these patterns by a small modification to your previous code, where this was constant as an 8 here, but you can make it as a variable which is dependent on the variable of the outer for loop, which is the control variable of the outer for loop, which is this I. And then again, the interesting thing would be to invert this and print this inverted staircase. I'm not going to go into that, but I'm sure all of you can modify the piece of code to make sure that you print out the inverted staircase. Again, while this is not a complete matrix, it is a matrix which is kind of the lower diagonal or the lower left part of the so what is it called? The lower part of the matrix, which is printed, and but again it has this form of the matrix which we are kind of exploiting using the nested for loops. Any questions or comments about this? Okay, so a small exercise for you is to print this inverted staircase. That is, you have 8 on the first, 6 on the second, 4 on the third, and 2 on the last one. This is not to be done. Yeah, lower triangular matrix and upper triangular. Thank you Sri Lakshmi for prompting that. Okay, so the lower triangular matrix and upper triangular matrix. And of course, you can also change this pattern to be starting with 1 and so on. At the moment, I am not going to do this. Okay, so far for printing these patterns, which we have already done using repeat, we are now going to move on to a slightly different question. So yeah, just to recap what we said, these tasks were of the form: for each row do something, for each column in that particular row do something, and then in fact for some of the patterns in some columns you don't have to print anything. That is also something that you have achieved by changing the loop, the variable for that. I mean, making sure that you print only so much. Okay, so having said this, we will go to a slightly different task, which is going back to what we did in the previous week. That is, given a number n, decide whether it is prime or not. So we already know how to decide whether a number is prime or not. We have written that code. Now we are going to change our task and say that we want to print the first k primes. So k is some number which is given to us. Let's say we take it from the input. For the moment, let's assume k is equal to 10. We want to print out the first 10 primes, and we want to write a program for this. So the way we think about it, or at least one of the ways that one can think about it, is while we haven't found k primes, we are going to do something inside and then determine if the next number that we can think of as a candidate for being prime, is it a prime or not? And then if it is a prime, print it out. However, this part, which is this determine if the next number is prime, this already needs a loop that we have seen, and we have used that loop to, I mean, we have used this to check whether a number is prime or not. So we are going to write this program. Again, I will have a template of this program here. So this is how our program, this is how we will try to write our program. So we will start with n is equal to 2, because that is the first element that we will we will think of as a candidate for being prime. We are going to maintain some counter which counts from 1 to 10, while count is less than or equal to 10, because we want to print out 10 primes. We can make it k, take it as an input from the user, but at the moment let's stick to 10 primes. Decide if n is prime. If this part is something that you have already written. If n is prime, then increment the counter and print n. And irrespective of this, so this should not be off. If it should be off, irrespective of that, increment n, because n is something which is not given to you now. N is not the input number which you are deciding it to be as prime or not. It is something that you are just incrementing to check. So you are doing that increment and saying that the next candidate that I will test is n. If that happens to be the prime, then I'm going to increment the counter. Irrespective of whether that number turns out to be a prime or not, I will increment n. So this is the template that we think we will use for writing our code. It is very, very important. I repeat that whenever you are given any task or any coding exercise, you first think of how you are going to write that code. And once you write down a template or some kind of an idea that you have, make sure that you write down some pseudo code for that, or some smaller statements that of this level, of this high level, that decide if n is prime. This is a task that we already know how to do. Of course, if n is prime, increment the counter is very simple, and irrespective of that, increment n. So once you break it down, you are going to make things manageable. So what I would like you to do is possibly write down a piece of code which does all of this. I mean, it's not very difficult, but it's not immediate. It's not trivial to do all of this if you're writing code from scratch. So at this stage, I would like you to go to repl.it and write down this piece of code. So of course, you'll have to add everything, stdio.h and so on, to this template, but I would like you to have this template itself. And it will be very nice if there are volunteers who can share their screen. I will be happy to let them share the screen, and then we can see the code that they can actually run on repl.it. Okay, so some people are writing the code in the chat, which is fine. I'm observing that. Okay, so one of the questions, so Upendra, right? Is this question must use while only? So Upendra, so this is the question related to this. So for the moment, we will use this template. So that means that you have to fill in parts of the code which are left here. But as far as possible, there is no need to change this template to while count is less than 10. I mean, if you want a for loop, that is okay, but doesn't matter really. Okay, so I see one piece of code which has been sent to me. I don't see who it is. Okay, so I think Upendra, you have sent the code. I want to understand where do your code doesn't seem to be incrementing the counter, right? Okay, so I would like feedback from students. Are you people trying it out on repel.it or how is it? I mean, is it too difficult to switch from this to the repel.it? What is it? Can somebody confirm?
I'm trying.
Ma'am, we are trying it on repel.it.
Okay, great. That is very nice. So please try it on repel.it. I think I'll give you certainly 5 to 7 minutes to try it on repel.it and then we will move. I mean, I'll show you some parts of the code. Okay, so you may assume k is 10, so you don't have to worry about scanf, k and so on. You can assume that you want to print the first 10 primes, doesn't matter. Okay, so one of the questions is that, yeah, so I suggest now people don't type out the message. I mean, people don't write down the codes because otherwise these questions are getting lost. Okay, can we print 1 at the beginning itself or 1 should go? So 1 is not a prime number, right? So it's neither a prime nor a composite. So 1 is not something that we are going to print out. So the first candidate is 2 and that's why we are starting with n is equal to 2. Hamsavardhan, right? Is that clear? Okay, yeah. Okay, so is there somebody who is willing to share the repel.it screen and show us the code if somebody is ready, or we can also wait for some time, but okay, Aditya, right? Yeah, you have done it on repel.it. And would you be willing to share your code, Aditya? Would you be able to share your screen? Okay, great. So we'll wait for a minute or so for others to also look at, finish or try out their things. And then we can look at Aditya's code and let him explain what he did it in his code. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing, Aditya, and you will be able to share in a minute. Just let's wait for others too. Yeah, before that, anybody else has any questions on the anything that you are trying out? Yeah, so I know a few students now in the class by names, and but I would like more and more people to participate in the discussions in the presentation like we'll go around now. Okay, so yeah, Aditya, would you be willing to share your screen? Okay, great. So can you explain your code to us? You can unmute yourself and explain your code.
Hello, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm going to mute myself so that your voice is clear. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a while loop for the counter, so it counts till 10, so that we get only 10 prime numbers, and then this is the logic for finding the prime numbers. So I'm starting from 2 and going till n, but actually we can have this till n by 2 itself, that will be enough. And then we are using a flag variable so that if there is something divisible, then we can use this to find that it's a prime or not.
Okay, so Aditya, just hold on to your code. I hope everybody is able to see Aditya's code. Thanks Aditya very much for first finishing the program, also sharing your code and explaining your code. So I have a few points about this thing. So this part, right, that is for I is equal to 2 to n. Aditya, maybe you can highlight the internal for loop, right? I mean, you can just select that so that so that is even the flag, right? Flag is equal to 0. Then in fact we have said that if flag is equal to 1, then okay, so you are not breaking out of the loop, right, Aditya? The way we had done it in the class, we had said if you, as soon as you find a divisor, you break out of it and say that it is not prime. If flag happens to be 0 at the end of it, it is a prime number, and therefore you say it is a prime, and that is the part you have used for identifying that you have identified a prime and therefore increment the counter. So I have one first thing is, Aditya, can you make the screen a little bigger? Is there a possibility that your code looks a little bigger? Yeah, excellent, great. That this much is enough. So I have a few comments, and Aditya, please don't mind about the nitpicking, but I will use this to illustrate some of the things that can be improved in the coding. I think the code is correct, which adheres to what we have exactly said. That is, there is a counter which is kept, which is C. Okay, so one thing is how many is it printing out? Is it printing 10 or 11? If you are starting at C is equal to 0.
Yes, it's printing 11.
Right. So this is the first, I mean, this is a logical error. If you have C is equal to 0, then you should have C less than 10. Otherwise, initialize the counter to be equal to 1, and then it will be correct. So that is one logical error, but that is one small thing. The other, is there any other error that anybody else spots or anything that I have missed in terms of the behavior not being what we want? Anybody is free to comment if anybody has any comment here. Okay, so the other comments that I have are mostly more of coding style rather than anything incorrect. I see everything is correct except this small part, which was the boundary condition was incorrect. Also, you see that this n++ is happening irrespective of what happens, whether we have the prime or not. Line 21, Aditya, maybe you can highlight it again. This is happening irrespective of whether we find that n to be prime or not, and we increment this n, and we keep continuing this. And note that the C or the counter is incremented only when the flag happens to be 0 for a particular n. And only when we find 10 primes, we are going to have C to be incremented to an appropriate value, and therefore we will quit this loop. Okay, so some comments about the style of the code is, one, it is typically easy and quick for us to quickly write down the variable names as n, c, and so on. but it is better to write down the variable names which are representative. For example, call C as the counter, call F as the flag, and so on. We have said this, that we are going to use, instead of saying F equal to 0, we are going to use 0 is equal to F. Just again, it's a style thing, but we will try to follow that so that we don't get into this issue of equality and assignment operator being interchanged. That is something that is that we are going to follow. Then the indentation of the code can be improved. That is, at some places the indentation is not fine, but these are minor stylistic things. But I would like you to inculcate this good coding habits, and I hope, Aditya, you don't mind these comments being given here. But this is not for you, this is for the interest of everybody. So yeah, so thanks, Aditya. Any other comments or questions that anybody has before Aditya stops sharing the screen? Yeah. Okay, very good job. Aditya, just can you run the program once again now that you have changed this code? Okay, great. So this does do it. So maybe we can try to do it for 1 prime. We can check whether it runs out correctly. You should always do this testing for the corner cases. Okay, good. Yeah, again, there could be a /n that could be given at the end of the whole program. That is fine. And one more thing that could be written is the first prime is this, second prime is this, but that is, again, that is not something that we asked for. So it is not expected that you write it like that. So this is fine. Okay. Yeah, okay, your printf /n has a wrong slash. That is why it is not printing the /n. It's the other way. Yeah, okay. So you wanted it to be printed on a single line, I believe. All the primes. Fine. Okay, is everybody okay with this code or this piece of task that has been done by Aditya? Thank you, Aditya, and very nice that you have completed it quickly. Okay, I think many of you may have completed it, and we took one example code and flashed it on the screen. Okay, so getting back to our task. So I think I have a very similar piece of code, except I have used different variable names, and I have just reused the part of the code that we had written for testing whether n is prime or not. So this is exactly that piece of code, except that we had said if flag is not equal to, this flag is equal to 1, or 1 is equal to flag, then print not prime, else print prime. That is the only change that I have done. And the variable names are different. Other than that, the code looks very similar to what Aditya has given. And most of you will also possibly write this same piece of code. So any questions or comments here? Okay, so with this, we are going to go to our third task. Okay, so what is the difference between this? Is, I think this is the complete.
Excuse me.
program. Sure, yeah. Yes.
Shouldn't flag equal to 0 come inside the while loop? Because suppose the earlier number is a prime number, flag will be 1. And so when we go to the next number, flag won't be changed, and flag will be 1, and it will say it's not a prime.
Okay, so so hold on. So what is your this thing that you are setting flag equal to? So where do you want? So this int flag is equal to 0, right? Okay.
Yes, that's inside the first while loop. That is while I less than n. You just put int flag equal to 0.
See, okay, so that flag equal to 0, if it is there, first of all, okay, so the flag variable, you are defining it outside the loop, but you are initializing it here, is it?
Yes, ma'am. So that for every number, when it's checking for prime, flag is 0 initialized. Because suppose we check for 3, and then when we or like suppose when we check for 4 and when we go for 5, ma'am, 4 when it's 4.
So just hold on. So you are looking at it from 4, right? So let's say, so when you are in 4, so n has become 4. Is that correct?
No, n has become 5, ma'am. n is 5 and
So wait, so let's look at the iteration where n was equal to 4, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
let's rewind one step and see what is the state when n is equal to 4. Is that okay?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so n is equal to 4, you are gone here, flag has been set to 0, and then while I less than n, so from 2 to 2 and 3 you are going to check and flag will be set to 1. Is that fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so therefore 4 you have identified that it is not a prime number.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
therefore count has not been incremented, n has become 5.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now what do you want? Okay, so now what do you want? 5 should be detected as a prime, right?
Yes.
Anyway, 5 is a prime. Okay, so you go here. At this stage, flag will become 0.
That becomes 0 only when it's inside the loop, right?
Which loop?
While loop, ma'am. The first while loop.
Okay, so let's see. So where is this n getting incremented? So this n is getting incremented in the outside while loop, which is the one which is controlled by count is less than or equal to 10.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Got it, ma'am. I thought this was the first while loop, ma'am. Sorry. That was an error from
So
my
in
side.
fact, it is, yeah, in fact, it is not correct to put this inside the inside this loop, right? Yeah. I mean, inside the second while loop, it is correct to put it here where it is. Is that okay, Shashank?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
No problem, no problem. It is okay to get mistaken. Please feel free to ask questions. Okay. Any other comment or question here? Okay. So I have just actually commented out here that is, I mean, the code that is decide if n is equal to prime is this part. If n happens to be prime, increment the counter and print n, which is this part. And then irrespective of that, increment n is this part. So this is what is the code. I think I meant this to be the whole program, but I removed it stdio.h and so on. So this is not in fact the main program. So don't worry about this. Okay, so now is the thing that we want to do the following task, that is, given an integer n, we want to test if it is prime, that we already know how to do. However, if it is not a prime, then we want to print out its prime factorization. So let's first understand the problem and then move ahead to solving it. So let's say we are given 100. What is the expected output? So let's say 100 is the input number. Of course, 100 is not a prime. So what do we want as an output? When somebody says give out its prime factorization, or what is written in the slide, let me just read. Yeah, give out its prime factors with the corresponding power. So what will be the expected output? What do you think is the expected output? Can somebody write down in chat or say it out? Okay, so I don't understand what is 2, 5. So somebody has written 2, 5. What does it mean, Shwetika? 2, 5. Okay, 2 and 5 are the prime factors. Is that what you are trying to say? Okay, so I think, yeah, we just don't want 2, 5. We want the corresponding powers. So let's see, we will write 2 space 2, that says that we have the prime number 2, which is having a factor, which is having a power which is 2, that is 4 is a divisor and is the largest divisor, largest thing that you can get. And then 5 again has 2 factors, that is 5 square is a divisor, that is 25. So our output will be of this form. I will just write it down here in the chat message. 2 2 and then okay, so now I need shift enter 5 2, right? So this is what, okay, so I don't know how my message is coming. Yeah, so it has come in as 2 separate messages, but this is the output, 2 space 2 5 space 2, which means that 2 to the power 2 into 5 to the power 2 is the prime factorization of 100. So this is the expected output of our program. Now, one of the ideas that I have written down here is that, okay, assume that n is not a prime. For 2, I is equal to 2 to n minus 1, detect if I is a prime. If I is a prime, find the largest power of I which divides n, and then print I and the corresponding power. This is the first idea that we think of for writing this program. Is there any obvious mistake or anything that is incorrect about this?
Ma'am, we don't know if it is a factor of n itself now.
Yeah, Ashwin, you are not audible.
No, like why are we directly checking for prime? We have to check if it is a factor of that now initially.
If it is, sorry, if
If it is a
why are we
factor of
checking?
n,
Yes, okay. But see, okay, that's okay. So here, right, detect if I is prime. Is that where you are asking the question?
yes, shouldn't we check if it is a factor of n, then check if it is a prime?
Okay, so first of all, okay, so see, if it is, what we want is prime factorization. So for example, if 4 divides 100, we don't want 4 to be printed out, right? Or 50 divides 100, we don't want 50 to be printed out. We want only prime numbers and their powers.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, okay, fine. Okay.
Okay, so at the moment we are assuming n is not prime. Then for I is equal to 1 to n minus 1, detect if I is prime. If I is prime, find the largest power of I which divides n, then print I and the corresponding power. Is that okay, or is there a mistake in this kind of a thought process? Of course, there is an assumption that we have made that n is not prime, but we'll visit that later. Okay, so I'm going to present a slightly different way of thinking. And okay, so I'll just look at what after finding the divisor, can we find whether they are prime or not? Yeah, I mean, you are going to check whether I divides n by checking whether I mod n mod I is equal to 0. That is okay, but it is, I mean, if it is not a prime, it is not very useful, right? It can be interchanged, doesn't matter. Shwetika, right? That's okay. Okay, so I'm going to give a slightly different idea, which is the following. So you can actually omit this sentence, which is assume n not equal to prime. That is not required now. So we just look at this, that is for I equal to 2 to n, we do the following. Find the largest power of I which divides n. Right, so somehow find the largest power of I which divides n, print I and the corresponding power. So this find largest power of I which divides n is going to require you to have a loop which is inside this for loop that you are running, and then don't leave n as it is, modify n, because let's say that your number is 100, you have found that you are starting with I is equal to 2, then you are going to find out the largest power of I which divides n. So that is, you are going to say that 2 to the power 2 is the largest power, because 2 to the power 3, which is 8, does not divide 100. So you are going to print 2 and 2, that is 2 to 2 followed by the space 2, which represents that 2 to the power 2 is dividing 100. How do you modify n? What would be the correct way to modify n so that we don't have to get into this business whether I is prime or not? What would be this modification to n?
Ma'am, n is equal to n by I to the maximum power which divides it.
Very good. So if you remove or if you modify n such that from n, all the powers of I that are there are removed, that is n is equal to n div, whatever is that I to the power k that you have found out, then you are safe, because then 4 is not going to divide it. because the number that you will have obtained after doing it will be 100 divided by 4, which is 25, after which you cannot have that 2 will divide it or 4 will divide it and so on. So you don't have to worry about detecting if I is a prime, but the remaining things that are going to divide it are going to be automatically the prime things that are going to divide it, because you are going to take a prime and remove all its powers from, I mean, all possible times that you can divide it from that number. So this is the idea that we are going to implement. And remember that going from idea 1 to idea 2, we did not do any coding. We just spent time on thinking about it, or maybe I spent time offline thinking about it. But if you think of writing this first piece of code, it is going to get more messier than what if you try to write this second piece of code. So in the remaining time that we have, I would like all of you to try out this second idea. That is, so what is it? We are given an input integer n. You don't have to worry about scanf and all. You can hard code that integer into your program for the moment. Then you are going to, your goal of the program should be to output the prime factors and the corresponding powers in 1 per line, right? And in the increasing order of the prime factors. So we have already told an example. If it is a prime number, let's say you give 23, then it should just print 23 space 1. And this is how you are going to, you want your output of the program to be. So I request all of you to use REPL.IT to code this up and try out this program. Are there any questions about this idea, or I mean the way we are doing this? So in fact, as I said, you can delete this line, assume n is not a prime, because we are going from I all the way from all the way 2 to n. Please, yeah, I see some of you are typing the answers, which is good. I'm reading those while others can try to finish their codes. Yeah. I hope everybody is trying out this program on REPL.IT. Okay, so I am going to now share my REPL.IT, and hopefully you will be able to see the program that I have written. I see already one of you has written the program, and which is correct, Shashank. So I'll just use this my program so that we save the time in terms of the sharing and so on. But Okay, so I would like to ask the class, would you like time to try out this program, or would you like to see the solution? So if you would like to try out the program, then we can go over the solution tomorrow, because I don't see too many answers. Okay, so I think it is okay to take more time. It's an interesting piece of code that you would like to write it down. So there's no point in giving away the answer. It is nothing, you would like to try it out. So I won't give away the answer. And I think Shashank, you have tried it out and it's the correct program. I have not checked all the details, but it looks correct to me. I hope you have tried it out. So yeah, you can try it out as a homework exercise. Tomorrow when we get back, we will first look at this program and then move on. So I think I'll stop here. I don't want to give away the program immediately. All of you can try it out. It takes about 10 minutes or 15 minutes to write this program. But please use this idea that you are going to repeatedly remove the powers of that prime number. You are going to repeatedly divide the number by that prime number, so that all powers of that prime number are deleted, and modify that n. So I just want to mention the takeaway from this these three examples that we had. The first was printing patterns. The second was about printing the first n or some 10 prime numbers that we wanted to print, and the third was to print out this prime factorization of a given integer, and each of them required nested loops. In fact, nested loops will come much more often when we look at these arrays and two-dimensional arrays in particular. But they do come up even when there are no two-dimensional arrays, but you require to do something repeatedly. For example, for each of the, till you find enough number of prime numbers, you want to keep finding new prime numbers. Similarly here, you want to repeatedly divide that integer as long as it is divisible by that prime number, and so on. So you should be able to identify where nested loops are required, and then first think of the correct way to write down the program before getting into coding. So again, this last example is very illustrative, that you would like to think about writing your code before starting to get into the coding. Okay, so I think I'll stop here. I'll stop the recording. If there are some questions, I will take them, and we'll meet tomorrow in the morning, and then in the afternoon for the lab, which will be a graded lab session. Okay, thank you.